I am a cult survivor, and these are my stories. Good morning, guys. Jeremy here. Happy Monday. I want to talk about my hitchhiking incident that I did while I was in the first foster home in Monmouth, Oregon, 1985. This would have been maybe the spring or summer. I did talk about the bicycle ride that I took where the foster parents let me ride the bike 4 miles into town. And I think that kind of triggered something for me. It triggered this sense of freedom that obviously I didn't have growing up in a religious cult where we were always made to be around other people and adults and kids and teenagers. And, I never had any alone time to myself. And it wasn't until I got into the foster care system when I started to discover what it meant just to be with me, with myself, on that bike ride, riding 4 miles into town by myself, running around that town and then riding back. And, I think at one point I did stop and there was this huge pine tree grove that I rode past. I remember just stopping there and just looking at the trees, like swaying back and forth in the light breeze and the wind. And so having that sense of freedom, one day after school, I don't know what came over me, but I decided that I didn't want to ride the bus home that day, but instead I wanted to hitchhike home from school. And so instead of walking out the classroom and turning left to go to the bus, I went right and I headed for the main road. I had remembered my dad picking up hitchhikers when we lived outside of Los Angeles. And I remember, one time he pulled over and he picked up this hitchhiker and the guy seemed really nice. My dad may have given him like a few dollars, he dropped them off. So I just remember thinking like, oh, okay, I want to try that. I want to try that for myself. Now, mind you, I'm only 9 years old at this point, maybe going on 10. And I walked up the main road, put my thumb out, and no ride. So I'm like, okay, let me start walking a little bit. That 4 mile distance from the school to the house, I probably walked a good mile, mile and a half, something like that. And at some point I just realized, there was no more sidewalk anymore. I'm walking up this road and it doesn't seem like I'm gonna get a ride. And then at the last minute, I was about to, I don't know what I was gonna do. I just was walking and finally this gentleman in this kind of older pickup truck pulled over and was like, where are you going? I was like, I'm just, going up the road here, and hopped in, and he brought me up to the road that led to the house. And it was still like a good quarter mile, half mile or something, gravel road from the main road up to the house that I lived. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. You can drop me off here. And he goes, actually, why don't I just, I'll drive you to your house. Make sure you get there safe. I'm like, all right. And so he did and dropped me off. And I said, thank you. And he left. And I thought that would be the end of it. Well, turned out later he came back because he recognized the house. He must have been part of the Mormon church or something. And he came in and he talked to the parents and said, hey, I just want to let you know, I picked up this kid hitchhiking and I dropped him off here at this house. And so they were like, Jeremy, you were supposed to take the bus home today. And this gentleman here says that he picked you up hitchhiking. What is going on? And I had to, fess up to that, to hitchhiking home from school and, kind of why I did it. And, that was just me testing this newfound freedom that I had. And I don't know if I really got into trouble for it, but I'm sure, they probably had to report that to child service, agency. And anyway, I just wanted to share that story with you guys. Kind of a funny story now, of course, that could have been a much worse of an outcome had the wrong person, picked me up. So now obviously I understand that I shouldn't have done that. But at the time, it just seemed like a really great idea. All right, you guys, enjoy your day.